Hi, I'm Tim. In this video, I'm going to let you know what you need to know to be an FAA Part 107 certified pilot for your radio control model aircraft. Let's get to it. In an earlier video, I'll put the card up here, I discussed in general the FAA and how that impacts radio control model flyers, both recreational flyers, Sunday afternoons at your club, and people that fly for business under Part 107. The history of the FAA, how that is impacting us in the future with things like remote ID and testing for recreational flyers. In this video, I'm going to focus more on what you need to know, what you need to do if you're going to become an FAA Part 107 certificated pilot. And I'll discuss it further throughout the video, but you need to become a FAA Part 107 pilot if you fly your RC model to include drones for business. If you make money off of your flying, you need to be certified by the FAA under Part 107. Because this video is technical in nature and I want to make sure it's correct, I do have notes. In this case, a lot of my information is from the FAA website, faa.gov. There is a wealth of information on the FAA website. Later on in this video, we'll take a look at the website for unmanned aerial systems, but just unmanned aerial systems by the numbers. Unmanned aerial systems are radio control models. It could be what we fly fixed wings at the club. It could be the quadcopter drones. They're all unmanned aircraft systems. Because the FAA is concerned about it, because whenever we fly, we're in the National Airspace System. The FAA is very concerned with safety. If we're operating in the National Airspace System, the FAA is responsible for deconfliction of airliners, light traffic, UAVs, just a range of things. But the UAVs are important because they've just exploded in popularity over recent years due to the availability of very well-performing electric-powered drones. So just a snapshot of the current drones in the United States. With the FAA, there's registered 1,750,000 drones. Of those, 512,000 are commercial drones registered, 1,235,000 are recreational drones, people that just fly for fun on weekends. In the Part 107 that we're going to talk about in this video, there are 204,000 remote pilots already certified per the FAA. This video is being recorded in December of 2020. Those numbers are only going to go up in the future. So the FAA is responsible for everybody operating in the National Airspace System, private pilots, United Airlines 787 captains, and us flying our radio control model aircraft because we're in the National Airspace System. And so because the FAA is aware of all these activities, the definitions are important. So I just want to touch base on what the FAA thinks an aircraft is. An aircraft from the FAA is a vehicle that is able to fly by gaining support from the air. That is an aircraft. So common examples of aircraft are airplanes, fixed wings airplanes, helicopters, gliders, paramotors, even hot air balloons. All of those are vehicles that are able to fly by gaining support from the air. So what that means is when the FAA talks about UAS, unmanned aircraft systems, they're talking about things, aircraft that fly in the air that don't have anybody on board, hence the term unmanned, and generally accepted that they're controlled remotely by somebody on the ground. And so where the FAA comes into focus with the UASs is their concern is unauthorized or unsafe operations. They've got to make sure that us radio control model airplane pilots that are operating the National Airspace System are following some set of rules to prevent an unsafe situation from happening. So what the FAA is doing for our unmanned aircraft systems, or just RC pilots, is just like they do with full-scale things. They tend to divide the world into flying that is for pleasure on your own, or if you're involving the public, i.e. United Airlines carrying passengers for hire. They're fairly lenient or understanding if you're just flying for fun. Once you start making money with your flying operations, it gets strict very quickly, again, for the whole safety thing. So for regular RC pilots, recreational, if we're in a club-based activity, we have a fair amount of freedom to do what we want. I'll cover some rules at the very end for that. But as this video is focusing on the Part 107, this is a relatively recent development because so many people are operating their drones for profit. They could be taking pictures of real estate agents, they could be working for farmers, they could be surveying towers. In my case, I fall into Part 107 because my videos are included on YouTube that are monetized. All this is making money through aviation, so we have to go to Part 107. Let's take a moment to look at the very complete and very well done website of the FAA, FAA.gov. And you'll see on the home page there's a specific section for UAS operators that'll bring you into the unmanned section. And for the purpose of the FAA, their vehicles that they're concerned about for both recreational and Part 107, they have to weigh greater than 0.55 pounds and to be less than 55 pounds. So they put a 55 in both things to make it easy to remember. If you're above 55 pounds, those are flying. It's a whole different set of regulations. That's the FedExes, the UPSs. If you're under 0.55 pounds, like for example, this Guilos Aranca, put a card up here for this. This weighs 3 ounces. It doesn't have to be registered. It's not considered part of this discussion. So let's take a look at the website and just some of the things that are available for you on that website. This is the FAA website, FAA.gov. Just a lot of information on the opening page. You'll see on the right is the Drone Unmanned Aerial Systems link. We'll go there in a minute to see what they have to say. All right, this is the Unmanned Aircraft Systems, UAS. You can see what type of drone flyer you are. If you click on those, it'll take you through a checklist, whether or not you make money, recreational flyers, community-based organizations. In our case, Part 107, certificated remote pilots, including commercial operations. 3 steps: learn the rules, become a drone pilot by taking the knowledge test, then register your drone as a Part 107 pilot with the FAA. You'll notice here's the FAA drone zone. If we click on that, this is the section of the FAA website. To register your drone, you register it either as a Part 107, where you have to register each aircraft individually, or if you fly under the exception for recreational flyers, that registration is good for every aircraft that you fly on a recreational basis. Let's dive a little bit deeper into the Part 107. Again, this is from the website, so I'm going to be referring to this a little bit. And what the FAA calls this is certificated remote pilots operating, including commercial operators. And so when you come under 107 for the FAA, you are a certificated pilot per the FAA, just like the United Airlines captain. The catch is when you take a full-scale or you fly full-scale aircraft, you have to pass a written test. For Part 107, you have to pass an FAA written test. But for full-scale flying, you have to pass an oral exam to get certificated. You have to pass a check ride. You have to have a medical certificate. For drone operations, there is no check ride, there is no oral exam. You self-certify for the medical condition, but you do have to take the written test, and that'll kind of be the focus because you're going to go to an FAA testing center and take this test. So to become a 107 operator, there's really 3 things you have to do. First step is to learn the rules. Second step is to become an FAA certificated drone pilot by passing the knowledge test and passing with at least 70%. And then you've got to register your drone with the FAA. So let's talk about this a little bit more. With learning the rules, there's a whole bunch of rules that go over what you have to do. And this is another item from the website, FAA News. It's from June of 2016. And what it is a summary of small unmanned aircraft rule Part 107. And you see this is literally 3 pages of rules. This will be part of your training. Take the written test. And what the FAA does, it divides it up into operational limitations, remote pilot and command certification responsibilities, aircraft requirements, model aircraft. So again, because you're under Part 107, they're treating the UAS operator just like a pilot with certain responsibilities they have to know to follow. The idea is when you're flying your RC airplane drone for business, you're probably operating more than a recreational flyer. And the FAA is kind of taking the assumption that recreational flyers, by and large, are operating with what they call a community-based organization, their club. Once you're making money, you could be in a lot of different places. And so because you're in a lot of places outside of a structured club environment, The FAA just wants to make absolutely certain you know the rules so you don't violate a regulation with your drone flying. So operational regulations will be part of your training. Just a few of the highlights: it has to be less than 55 pounds. Daylight operations only. You can't fly at night for your business. Minimum weather visibility is 3 nautical miles. You need, for operations in Class B, C, D, E airspace, you need a waiver, which is gotten 90 days before you can operate in it. Class G airspace is allowed. So the training tells you what these airspaces are, and you've got to be able to read a chart to understand where you are, whether or not to ask for the waiver. No careless and reckless operations. Then the stuff with the remote pilot command certification responsibilities, you have to be 16 years old, etc. And the other thing that's kind of interesting here, again, just like full-scale pilots, remember when you're a full-scale pilot, again, you could be an airline captain or a Cessna. Let's say you land on the wrong runway. The assumption is you've had training to know not to land on that wrong runway. If the FAA inspector is there as you pull up in your airplane, the FAA inspector can do what's called a ramp check. They say, let me see your license and medical. You have got to have those on your person because that's part of the training. Let's talk a little bit about the written test, because this is where a lot of people are going to be focused on. The written test is a big deal. It is not an easy test. I am a licensed pilot, so I know how to read a sectional chart, but there were things that I had to learn on the drones. For example, the maximum speed under Part 107 is 100 miles an hour, 87 knots. The maximum altitude is 400 feet above ground level. So I had to learn those things, and then tied into the sectional chart primarily to know what type of airspace you're flying into so you don't inadvertently fly into controlled airspace. For example, when a control tower is operating, the controlled airspace goes from the surface typically up to about 2,500 feet. If the control tower shuts down, that airspace reverts to Class G airspace, which is uncontrolled airspace. You just have to be aware of things like that. So on step 2, to become a certified drone pilot by passing the knowledge test, 3 things to be eligible. You've got to be at least 16 years old. You've got to be able to read, write, speak, and understand English, and be in a physical and mental condition to safely fly a UAS, and that is a self-certified medical requirement. On the FAA website, there's a full process to get your certificate. I'll highlight it here. There are prep materials provided by the FAA. So let's talk about testing, about preparing for the test. Because so many people are taking this test, there are a lot of resources out there to have you learn the test. The FAA has all their books. They're fine books, but there's a lot of information to plow through. What I would say is there are 2 ways to do this. You can watch videos online with YouTube, or you can pay to have a online course. Because I'm a pilot, I could watch the YouTube videos and I got some study materials. It was okay for me. I got a 97% on the test, but I was familiar with a lot of the materials. I will tell you, when I took the test, the first 8 questions, I had no idea where they came from. They were just out of left field. Each question is 3 choices. It's multiple choice. I got through it. So the YouTube videos are extremely helpful. I'm going to list 3 of them right here, and I will put links in the description to what they are. The first one is the Free Drone Certification Study Guide by Tony Northrup. Again, the links will be in the description. Tony's video is about 1 hour and 45 minutes long. He does a very good job. He's a professional photographer. He's not a pilot, but he does a good job of explaining things for the test. The video has about 1.3 million views, so it's worth looking at. Another one that was pretty good was by Better Be Roll, Free FAA Part 107 Drone Test Study Guide. That was about a 2.5 hour video. Again, a good discussion of the test questions, concepts, etc. The third and final one that I'll recommend is a free drone test workshop training for Part 107 exam by Gary Glenn. Gary is a pilot. He did a very good job of explaining things, and for a small additional fee, he will give you a sample of about 250 questions, which is an extremely useful study guide for the test. In addition to the YouTube videos, if you have never flown as a pilot and you're looking at a sectional map for the first time, there's just an awful lot of information on there. The way the sectional charts are done by the FAA, they're very useful charts for visual flight rules flying. And what happens is a wealth of information, but there's colors, codes, shapes. So if you're looking for train elevation and airspace, a military operations area, they are illustrated such on the sectionals, and I'll put an example up here. You can instantly go to the information you need once you know how to read it. So what I'm leading up to is, if you are not a pilot and you want to have some assurance of passing the test okay, do consider getting an online training course. If you Google FAA Part 107 testing, there's any number of courses out there. They range in cost from about $150 to $300 from just what I've seen. I've not signed up to them, but you can take a look. They'll give a free sample. The absolute gold standard for any of this training are the King training schools, John and Martha King. Their courses are not cheap, but they're absolutely the best. And I would encourage you to make sure you do some amount of preparation, because the objective is not to get 70% and pass, it's to know this stuff so you don't inadvertently violate a regulation and have the FAA come calling on you. So once you've studied and you're ready to take the test, you've got to take the test. So what will happen is there's a two-part thing you have to do. And after this short segment, I'll show you on the website where to go. You're going to have to go to a FAA website called the Integrated Airman Certification and Rating Application website. I'll put a link to this in the description, or you can just Google Integrated Airman Certification Rating Application. It's called IACRA. And this is a very good thing on the FAA, where the FAA keeps track of all your FAA testing, certification, training in one spot. So what happens is the FAA has all your information, your physical description, your address, everything about you, because there's security implications these days, flying with the TSA, etc. And what will happen is, when you sign up for the IACRA website, the objective of signing up, and there's other websites that show you how to sign up. I can't show you that because I'm already signed up with IACRA for my previous full-scale flying. But the important thing on the IACRA is you're going to get an FTN, which is an FAA tracking number. This FAA tracking number is you in the eyes of the FAA. What will happen is you'll take this FAA tracking number and you'll give it onto the next website to take your exam. So what happens now, the FAA has contracted out their knowledge testing centers to various airports, other organizations. And there is a website that is called the PSI exams that does all this. So again, there'll be a link. It's the FAA PSIexams.com. You'll create an exam with this. You'll create an account with the PSI website. So now they have linked you to the FAA. They will ask you what type of test you want to take. In this case, an unmanned aerial systems, small. So it knows that, and then it's a very nice setup. It'll say, okay, this is where you can take your test site. You'll list any place within 50 nautical miles. You click on that one, it'll have appointments for your testing with a date. You click that, and you have to pay for it. It costs $150 to take the test, but you're paid for, you're scheduled. They have all your FAA information. You just show up at the testing center at your appointed time, show a picture ID, there's email reminders. You take your test there on their computers. They will actually, when you're done taking the test, you hit complete. It's scored right there. You're given a printout of your score with another tracking number that will then let you get your temporary certificate. So when all that is done, you will actually get a certificate. This is my temporary certificate, temporary airman certificate. This is for every type of rating you get with the FAA. It's good for 120 days. It's fine if an FAA inspector wants to see it. After 120 days, because they have to do a background check with the TSA, you'll get in the mail a little plastic certificate, which is your FAA license, because you'll be an FAA pilot after all this. This is the IACRA website. You'll need to set up an account for this to get the all-important flight tracking number, the FAA tracking number, to take your test. I already have an account, so I log in. You go past the privacy things. This is all the information the FAA has on all my various check rides and licenses, to include eventually the FAA Part 107 license. You can see the temporary certificate is available for printout there. It's really quite interesting. Flight instructor, type ratings, etc., all on this IACRA application. But if you look at the upper left-hand corner, that's your FTN, your FAA tracking number. That is a number you'll need to log on to the PSI website. This is the PSI website to take your written test. You'll have to set up an account to create an account. I have one, so we'll sign in to take a look at that. And I have my sign-in information, and this is just for the various written tests. Once you sign in, it takes you right to a list of the tests that are available. And there are a lot of tests in the FAA. These are all shown right here. If you go down to the bottom, you want the unmanned aircraft general small, and you would select it to take that test. I'm not going to do that as I've already done it. So the final step you have to take to be a 107 pilot is you've got to register your drone. This is no different than getting license tags for your car. You have to register it and display the tags. I showed you on the FAA website, it shows you there's a separate thing for the drone flyers on registering the drone. Again, they have to be over 0.55 pounds, under 55 pounds, and you register it. The key thing is you're going to have to tell the FAA whether you're going to register under Part 107, which is flying for business, or recreational. You just fly without business, your own on the weekends. The difference is if you fly under Part 107, each drone flown under Part 107 needs its own registration, and it costs $5 per registration. For a recreational pilot, you could register once. You get a registration number. This is my registration for my recreational flyer. This number goes on all my recreational flyers. If I have 100 RC models, it's the same model. The idea being if it flies away, crashes into somebody, they know who owns that model. So to register, it's very easy. You can do it on the website for 107 or recreational. It just walks you through it. You need a physical or mailing address, and you just sign up and get your registration number, and that's what you have to do. The registrations expire after 3 years. You'll have to renew it at the FAA drone zone location, and then you label it. This is the information for labeling. It's just very simple. You have a registration number. It can be engraved, permanent level, or marker. It just has to be on the drone. It has to be on the outside of the drone. It can't be inside the battery compartment. Thank you for listening to this video. It's important that we follow the rules of the FAA. The FAA is responsible for the safety of the national airspace system. With our drones, we're operating in a lot of ways outside of our club areas. We just have to follow the rules. Keep in mind that also that if you are a Part 107 flyer, let's say you take pictures of real estate during the week, and on the weekend you just want to be a recreational flyer, that's fine. You just make a statement to yourself. This flight is either under Part 107 or recreation, and you're good to go. It's a self-certification. Again, the recreational flyers are in pretty good shape because we tend to operate off of clubs under 400 feet. But if you're making money with your drone, you should be under Part 107. There's lots of other YouTube videos and website information on getting this, but this is a good overview of what you need to do to prepare, reasons for the written test, and how to pass that written test.